Good day everyone, and our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines. I am Zen Natad and we are the group 2. Today, we will tackle about the self from perspective of anthropology. Before we start, I would like to tell everyone that this is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material. So what is anthropology? Anthropology is the study of humanity in all its complexity. It is a broad field that explores human diversity across time and space. It's a discipline that asks big questions such as what does it mean to be human? How have we evolved? How do we shape and get shaped by our cultures, societies, and environments? The word anthropology comes from the Greek word anthropos, meaning human, and logia, meaning study. So in essence, anthropology is the study of humans, both past and present. What is the self in anthropology? In anthropology, the self is a complex and multifaceted concept. The self is a person's sense of self, which is shaped by their culture and interactions with others. It is a process that involves becoming self-aware and understanding one's place in society.
The Self on the Person, Self in Defining Cultural Context by Harry Triandis. Harry Triandis' anthropological perspective on the self is that it is a subjective cultural element that can be divided into three aspects: the private self, the public self, and the collective self. The three aspects of the self. The first one is private self. A person's thoughts about their own traits, behavior, and states. It also talks about personal traits and self-perceptions. So this is a interpersonal experience of the self. It includes your own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about yourself. An example for this is that you might feel proud of your artistic abilities even if others don't share that opinion. This internal sense of pride is part of your private self. The second aspect is the public self, a person's thoughts about how others view them, how one is perceived by others in a social context. This is how you present yourself to the world. It's the image you project to others, influenced by social norms and expectations. For example, you might dress professionally for a job interview because you understand that it's important to make a good first impression. This conscious effort to present yourself in a particular way is part of your public self. So, the third is collective self. What is collective self? Collective self is about a person's thoughts about how a collective views them. This aspect of the self is derived from group memberships. It's about how you see yourself as a member of a particular social group, such as family, team, nationality, etc. For example, you might feel a strong sense of belonging to your college's alumni association, and this affiliation shapes your identity and how you interact with other alumni. Harry Triandis is a prominent psychologist known for his work on cultural psychology. One of his key contributions is the concept of cultural syndrome. These are shared patterns of beliefs, attitudes, norms, role perceptions, and values that exist within a culture. He also argued that the self is not a static entity, but rather a dynamic construct shaped by cultural norms and values.
Here are some cultural variables that Triandis identified. So the first part is individualism and collectivism. This is perhaps his most well-known dimension, so individual cultures prioritize individual needs and goals, emphasize personal achievement, and value independence. For example, in the United States, individuals are often encouraged to pursue personal goals and achievements, even if it means going against the wishes of the group. While collectivistic culture prioritizes group needs and goals, emphasize interdependence, and value harmony within a group. Example, in many Asian cultures, strong emphasis is placed on family, harmony, and maintaining social order, even if it means sacrificing individual desire. And the second part is horizontal and vertical. These dimensions considers whether individuals in a culture see themselves as equal or having different levels of status. So, horizontal cultures emphasize quality among individuals. For example, some Scandinavian countries, there's a strong emphasis on social equality and minimizing social hierarchies, while vertical cultures emphasize social hierarchies and aspect for authority figures. An example for this is that in many Asian cultures, there's a strong emphasis in respecting elders and those in position of authority.
For the third part, it is about tightness and looseness. This dimension refers to the degree to which a culture has strong social norms and how strictly they are enforced. Tight cultures have social norms and high levels of conformity. An example for tight cultures is that Singapore is known for its strict laws and strong emphasis on social order and conformity, while the other part, loose cultures, have weaker social norms and greater tolerance for deviance. For example, the Netherlands is often described as loose culture with more relaxed social norms and greater individual freedom.
So for our second topic, it is the Filipino self embedded in culture. Pantayo Pananaw, Labas, Loob, at Lalim by Zeus A. Salazar. Pantayo Pananaw, or from our perspective, a concept developed by Philippine historian Zeus Salazar. It's a framework for understanding Philippine history and culture from a Filipino perspective. It emphasizes the importance of viewing Philippine history and culture from the perspective of Filipinos themselves rather than through the lens of Western or colonial perspectives. So here is the breakdown of the key concepts. So for the first one, labas or outside. This refers to the external perspective on Philippine history and culture, often influenced by colonialism and Western scholarship. This perspective can be ironic, focusing on Western concepts and values and may not fully capture the nuance of Filipinos' experience For example, Spanish colonialism, American colonial administrator, and later Western academics.
Loob, or insight. This refers to the internal perspectives of Filipinos, their own understandings of their history, culture, and society. Pantayong pananaw emphasizes the importance of understanding these internal perspectives to gain a more authentic and nuanced understanding of Philippine history. An example for this is about the oral history account from a Filipino elder describing their ancestors' resistance to Spanish colonization through cultural practices like sugod alaba, or a form of guerrilla warfare. For this last one, lalim, or depth. This refers to the deeper layers of Filipino history and culture beyond the surface level understanding, often presented in colonial or Western accounts. It involves delving into the underlying values, beliefs, and worldviews that shape Filipino society. For example, analyzing the concept of utang na loob, or depth of gratitude, not just as social obligation, but as a deeply ingrained value system that shapes interpersonal relationships, economic transaction, and even political alliances in Filipino society.
So for pantayong pananaw, pantayong pamanaw is a Salazar's perspective, according to him. A pantayo is a self-subsisted ideological circle consisting of active subjects. For instance, we Filipinos are a pantayo because we are a group of people who have a particular set of beliefs and a practice. Pantayong pananaw is a from us for us perspective. It is any social collectivity which possesses a relatively unified and internally articulated linguistic cultural structure of communication, an interaction, and or a sense of oneness of purpose and existence. Going back to our previous example, we Filipinos have our own language which we use to understand what is happening around us. We have qualities, values, knowledge, attitudes, behaviors, and experience which are unique to Filipinos. Our beliefs, practices, and other things which makes us Filipinos came from the Filipino people for the Filipino people.
In essence, pantayong pananaw encourages a shift in perspective, urging Filipinos to look inward and analyze their history and society through their own lens, using their own language and cultural values.
Is a significant contribution to Philippine scholarship, fostering a deeper understanding of the national unique identity and encourage a more critical and independent approach to historical and social analysis.